Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94 here, back with another reaction video. Today, we finna react to No Way Out 2003, a supercar. I kind of remember this. I do kind of remember this. This was kind of a tough-ass stack card. I kind of remember this, but let's go back through it, though. I know Hulk Hogan and Rock. I know that one for sure. The rest is kind of blurry. Well, let's go back through it.
What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. The road to WrestleMania 19 was still unclear by the point of No Way Out, but all signs pointed towards an explosive battle between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle.
Brock Lesnar and Kurt.
That was announced for
I wasn't for sure.
19 at the time. The business was still experiencing struggles, but it was slowly simmering before going up. 2003 is a year where WWE's intentions were more apparent. 2002 was messy and a defining year at the same time, but the future of the WWE was very clear at this point, and other promotions started shining more. WrestleMania 19 wasn't hyped all that much. The buy rate for that show was terrible and a disappointment. One of the reasons was because Hogan and McMahon as the marquee match wasn't gonna sell. I don't see why they promoted that one as hard as they did. On No Way Out 2003, it was important to draw attention towards WrestleMania 19, the common thing that they've been doing for years. But enough talk, let's get into it. Okay, I don't even need to mention the theme song. The theme song for this show is Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. And oh my god, wake me up! This song's absolute hype. I'm just calm right now because it's late, but we could go on and on and on about that theme song, bro. The intro saw a Minecraft villager trapped. Chris Jericho faced Jeff Hardy in the opening of the show. Y2J at this point was just trying to make enemies out of everyone. Why? Well, it's Jericho. Jeff Hardy was on the outs. It's a bad time for him because you could see that WWE was willing to push Jeff Hardy. He had plenty of charisma and star power, but he had too many issues. And that's the thing with Jeff Hardy. Every time things are going well for him inside the ring, there's an issue outside. With that said, Y2J was great as a heel here. He was the real ass clown. Hardy was springing. Awesome offense display initially. This was a favorite moment of mine. Jericho ignoring Jeff, who ended up sliding right into him. The main story about this match is that high risk is high risk. Hardy's face paint was making a mess on the mat, and it's a cool display when he shows up, but then it just devolves all over the place. These two are pulling up something here. They had some great exchanges and sequences. Wonderful whisper in the wind here. Hardy added this oomph to it that made it look special here. Definitely one of the best ones I've seen. The crowd was easily invested in this battle, and so was I. Jericho had the walls in at one point. It was tight, but Hardy managed to make it to the ropes. He swung the momentum again in his favor and hit the swanton. 1, 2, no. Chris Jericho loved this spot back in the early 2000s. Most of his matches had the foot on the rope spot for some reason. I don't know why, but this was a Chris Jericho sequence. Hardy learned the hard way that high risk doesn't work in his favor, but even then, he was still giving Chris Jericho problems. It was an exciting battle. Jericho was sleazy and dirty. He was doing anything to win this battle. You're not Jeff Hardy, bro. Big powerbomb on the walls for Jericho to score the victory. This is a very good match and one of the most underrated openers to a pay-per-view probably ever. Definitely for the 2000s. Jeff Hardy was presented as somebody who was under Jericho, and Jericho was one of the best on Raw, but he slowly crept up and gave him a lot of problems. They kept my attention easily here, and if this was a time where Hardy was treated in a much bigger light, it definitely would have been a match that people talk about. But even then, Jericho got his ass kicked during this battle, and watching this match, I understand why WWE was trying to keep Jeff Hardy on the straight path, because he changes everything. They would have had him challenge Triple H for the title on pay-per-view, possibly have a tag team with RVD, or become a multi-time Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, I feel like they was trying to push Jeff. But like, being a kid at the time, I wasn't aware of his issues. At this time. So yeah, I did feel like they was trying to push him, but then it was like at one point they was pushing him, and then it was like they just fell back on him. And I was like, why they fell back on Jeff? And then a couple of months later, he in fucking TNA. And that was my introduction to TNA. The good old days of TNA. Shout out to TNA.
Jericho refused to let go of the hold leading to HBK coming out. He got booed, which is obvious because this is Montreal. You know, Montreal, they hate him. But even then, HBK overpowered both Christian and Chris Jericho. This was the first appearance of HBK in Montreal since the incident, so of course fans weren't going to be positive about him, especially because HBK only admitted his involvement a year earlier, although even a 5-year-old could understand that HBK was definitely involved in the Montreal screwjob. Team Angle is such an awesome team. While I think those two lack the charisma that Angle had, it didn't matter all too much because their business was in the tag team division, and the team centered around pure wrestling, whereas Angle was the character. Angle here had a big plan, but we couldn't hear what that plan was. If only Team Lesnar had a Spygate incident, you know, they'd expose him. Rob Van Dam and Kane challenged Lance Storm and William Regal for the World Tag Team Championships.
I think they won it here,
Kane
right?
was a new tag team here, and they had to do something seeing as the IC
Yeah, I think they won it. Did they win it here? They probably won it here or they lost it. I think they won it at Backlash, if I'm not mistaken. I think they won it after WrestleMania.
Title was gone, which I still don't understand. The mid-card desperately needed the IC title. They had storylines where Chris Jericho accidentally blasted Stacy Keibler with a steel chair, and it's like, this is a big story they got. This version of Kane was more lifelike, and while I think he did look like a superhero, I don't really think much of this Kane. I think he was too human. He wasn't the same guy that he was in the past. Like, you guys know Kane 1998, and he'd come out choke slamming everyone.
This is the Kane that led up to him unmasking and going crazy, though. So I don't blame him. I understand the story. This was a long-term story because once I think it started off when Rob Van Dam started coming out and helping Kane with Evolution, because Evolution was beating the shit out of Kane, and then Rob Van Dam came out and helped Kane, and then that started his whole like transformation of him being soft. Like, well, not being soft, but him not being the Kane of old. He started to walk away from fights more often. He started to not be himself as he used to be. I think that was the main story. And when he teamed up with Rob Van Dam, that was kind of the story. Like, he was changing for the better. And then when he was forced to unmask, it made him 10 times worse and unleashed a monster in him. And that was probably the best heel run of all time, hands down.
Is seeing heroic at the same time. He could be a villain. That's the Kane I think of when I hear Masked Kane. Okay, the offense from RVD was wonderful here. He gave both Storm and Regal plenty of problems, adapted well to both of their approaches, and there was this body slam from Kane which knocked out Regal. He was out of it, and we're gonna get into that later. The Faces dominated here. Regal had to regroup, but even then this match had long-term effects on him. The Faces finally faced a struggle here after RVD was thrown into the barricade. The heels isolated and worked hard here. Lance Storm was doing most of the work here. Regal was involved, but not as much as Storm. Kane changes the pace of the match here and he drops both men, throws them around, boots them, and he was dominant. Kane was dominant, but then Storm pulled the mask, and this caused him to blindly chokeslam RVD to lead to the victory for the champions. Average match here. It felt like Regal's moment threw this match for a loop. Other than that, I did enjoy RVD's offense. I can't say much about the champions, but this ended up being the final match William Regal had for over a year. He learned that he had a heart parasite that stemmed from the tour of Raw in India, and because of that, he was sidelined for a long time. The landscape of the WWE changed dramatically from this point to his return, and everything flipped upside down. Matt Hardy got embarrassed by his brother after telling him that maybe Mattitude would have helped him win matches. That's kind of true. But yes, it's on to the next match. Okay. Billy Kidman defends the Cruiserweight Championship against Matt Hardy. Hardy underwent a tremendous transformation to get himself to 215 pounds. It made for a hilarious story. He looked like a clown at times, but he was determined. It was almost Rocky-like in terms of inspiration. Matt Hardy really found himself well here as opposed to Jeff. He hates snow and so do I. I think people romanticize the snow. Oh, it's comfy, it's cold, it's cozy. But when I see dread, a frozen car window, and slippery roads and sidewalks, but that's just me. I know some of you relate to that, but I know some of you like the weather outside is frightful weather. Hardy's offense here was very different to the regular cruiserweights. To explain this simply, it felt like Matt Hardy was wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship. He dominated him. Plenty of plenty of shots to the back. Michael Cole and Taz were joking around with Taz saying Shannon Moore loves BJ's banana juice, and I thought he was talking about milk at one point. He used an alternate version of the side effect that was called the Ricochet. Kidman, after several minutes, finally hit something. He connected with the Enziguri. He finally makes the comeback, and the match is more open here with Kidman actually doing some damage to the challenger. Shannon Moore runs in. Hardy hits the side effect, and there's a bulldog from Kidman. He fails to hit the shooting star press, and I just want to say, I hate this shooting star. Nothing riles me up more when it comes to top rope finishers than this version of it. Billy Kidman climbs up. He's ready to dazzle the crowd, but then his controller disconnects mid-ascent and it looks effortless. It sucks. Paul London cooks this version of the shooting star press X10. He dog walks it. Oh, and Kidman missed her. I forgot to mention. Twist of fate from Matt Hardy. 1, 2, no. He had to hit one from the top rope to win. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this, a match from 2026? He had to hit it from the top rope to win? But yes, solid match. I didn't care all too much about it from the first half because when you watch Kidman during this time period, he wrestles somebody who's fast like Jamie Noble and Tajiri, so it takes some time to get used to it. When the match got going, you saw some good moments, but ultimately, it's more of a forgettable cruiserweight match, especially when you see what others during this time period have done. Matt and Ray, on the other hand, is something else. Edge was found unconscious. This was done to allow him to have surgery, of course, seeing as he had a big neck issue at the time that stemmed.
And this is when him and the leader shit started. This is when him and the leader shit started. And Matt Hardy was never the same.
Smooth, yeah, we are some pure players. Yo, bitch on dick, put her on Milwaukee Bears. Entertain smooth, yeah, we are some pure players. Yo, bitch on dick, put her on Milwaukee Bears. Man, you know what? I'm tired of you. I'm tired of this shit.
From plenty of those SmackDown 6 matches, they took a toll on him. The Undertaker faces The Big Show. This is a simple story. Big Show took him out months ago. Undertaker returns at the Royal Rumble and he's looking for revenge. They dragged the confrontation. Undertaker destroys Spanky. Canyon, who was Boy George. Do you wee or something? I don't know. I forgot what it was. But these beatings were brutal, especially the Canyon one. You know, I still talk about it to this very day. They're like, Undertaker took liberties into his own hands. Then Big Show showed up the final week and whooped his ass. Big Show had a great push that was required with the vision of Paul Heyman's SmackDown. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that he was fast-tracked to the title, and while there is an argument to be made about that, I think the intention was good, because it did so much for the show to have Big Show become dominant again, because it gave Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and John Cena a huge obstacle to overcome, and that's very important to have when you're producing a show. Undertaker was very aggressive here, too much emotion, but all he did was get the big giant angry. He had his moments where he was starting to get the Big Show down, but it wasn't working. The match was pretty dull here. Big Show slowed down the pace and targeted Undertaker's back, and it was effective. He didn't give Undertaker much to regain control. He eventually does, almost turns into Hogan, but then the ref was blinded. He low blows Big Show on the edges almost entirely with the Undertaker, but you couldn't write out the Big Show. And then Paul Heyman had to interfere. A-Train randomly showed up and Undertaker hit this crazy dive over the top rope. This was the loudest the crowd had been the entire show up to this point. Big Show's playing possum, but just like his runs in general, it didn't go anywhere, and the match unexpectedly ended with a triangle choke from the Undertaker. This match was weird, it was dull, but then they have good moments later on. Ultimately though, it's one of these two's weaker battles. They had better matches years later. A-Train saved the Big Show from an assault, and this ended up setting one of Undertaker's weirder WrestleMania matches. You guys know the handicap thing. Eric Bischoff thought he had the edge, but after learning that there's no interference, his smile faded faster than WCW 1999. With Edge unable to compete, it was now a handicap tag team match. Team Angle faced Chris Benoit and Brock Lesnar. This is prime Kurt Angle and prime Brock Lesnar. These two are on a collision course heading into WrestleMania 19. I love the simplicity of their story. Not that every story needs to be simple, but when these two look like legitimate athletes and all that, it's welcoming. I like it, but at the same time, I do understand why the build was so odd and so foreign and so sports-like. It's because Kurt Angle was injured. The faces came in with intensity, especially Benoit, but that's a normal Benoit match. Those piercing chops and strikes. Team Angle's numbers advantage got them great advantages, but it wasn't too much initially. It's a bit odd that Angle and Brock, who never had any sort of match together, faced off here. You'd think they'd save it until WrestleMania, but that wasn't the case. Angle dominated Lesnar with a chokehold here. Taz believed it was illegal, as did I, and he was stuck in that hold for a while. Both tagged down, Benoit was on crack. This guy looked insane. The crowd was going crazy with his dominance, and the match was broken loose. And while Team Angle had 3, they still couldn't get things together. They finally focused on Chris Benoit and went 3-on-1, tagging in and out. And there was a great exchange here between Benoit and Angle. The match went crazy, and then Benoit locked Haas in the crossface while Brock Lesnar dropped Angle with the F5. Haas taps out, and that's the match. Pretty good, but missing a small element. I'm not talking about Edge. I felt like Haas and Benjamin weren't that strong obstacles. Once Brock and Benoit broke through, it was basically over. This was more of a preview for Angle and Lesnar. With that said, it didn't feel like Brock and Benoit earned this victory as much as it should have felt. That's what I think. Edge was sidelined for over a year due to his neck, needed surgery, and it came at the worst time because WrestleMania was coming up. I do imagine him teaming up with Benoit, seeing as Rhino replaced him. That year that Edge missed ended up shaping his future tremendously, because while I do envision Edge eventually finding success regardless of the injury, you do have to wonder how things would have went had the fans continued seeing him be this good guy. Okay, Triple H defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Scott Steiner. The long-awaited rematch.
Oh, remember this? No. Oh.
Fat son of a bitch. He's fat.
To nobody. I watched the segments of the Royal Rumble match, and this feud is hilarious. It was a bit of a clown show, but I was entertained. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was entertained. Then that match turns out to be terrible. With this one, it was out of desperation that they did the rematch. Scott Steiner was pretty popular with the fans. He was charismatic, but that match was horrible. He's not entirely to blame, but he looked worse off during that battle than Triple H. The new story here was Steiner having to deal with Evolution. Evolution had just formed during the build of this feud, but it didn't feel too notable or fleshed out. It wouldn't be until Randy Orton's return in May that Evolution would feel like Evolution. Oh, and the promo for this match was wonderful. Triple H was bandaged up here, so it was easy for Steiner to cause problems. Plenty of Triple H fans here, which is funny. Steiner was being booed as if he was the heel. He was strong here and locked in the figure four. Flair had to intervene, and the crowd did not have any issue with that. Earl Hebner was booed for obvious reasons, seeing as this was Montreal, and Scott Steiner was struggling after Flair's interference and Triple H slowing down the pace. I heard some boring chants here while Triple H hits the reverse neck breaker. Steiner was starting to bother him, so he was trying to get himself disqualified. This didn't work. The crowd didn't like Hebner or Steiner, so this moment didn't mean much. Steiner was a bit of a powerhouse, but it wasn't anything crazy or exciting. He threw Triple H into the post while somebody's like, "That's for screwing Brett." And there's the belly to belly, aka the only move Steiner knew how to pull off last month. Big backdrop from the top rope, but then Flair got involved. Flair's yelling for Evolution like he was about to summon a bomb. I mean, it's just Scott Steiner. Like, all you gotta do is beat him with one guy. Orton and Batista showed up. He takes them out, has this awkward moment with Triple H, and then walks into a belt shot. That wasn't enough, so he hit the pedigree to retain the title. Better than Royal Rumble, that's for certain. But this one,
Man, you know what? I'm tired of you!
Scott Steiner has no future in the
tired of this
also,
shit!
Triple H does not get off easily. Test had a better match than Triple H with Steiner months later. This was 2003. Triple H almost had his purest here. Typical game stuff here. It's inoffensive in terms of execution, but they forgot to add moments and drama to the battle other than the interference with Evolution, and for that, it's forgettable. Listen, again, I'm not gonna say it was terrible. I think, like, on a technical standpoint, it was just average, but if you're looking to, like, make people look forward to this title run and stuff, should have been much better than it was. Okay, Eric Bischoff faces the returning Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin had been away for 6 months, still under WWE contract, but there wasn't much mention of him. He finally dealt with his issues in his personal life and of course with the WWE. He was fined $650,000 upon his return, although he managed to lower it to $250,000. A high-rise building meeting with Vince McMahon in September led to Austin's return. His return was spoken about in detail in the February 2003 issue of Raw magazine. Austin went scorched earth on the WWE in one of the best shoots you'll read in a WWE magazine. The best part was when he said that Triple H took up too much TV time with no positive revenue in return. And Austin's mindset during this time period wasn't that he was going to step back into the ring, but that he wanted to properly close his WWE career, whether it's as a valuable asset in the back or as an on-air talent. Bischoff was the most hated person in that arena. Everyone despised him. He tried to get out of this match, but to no avail. Stone Cold Steve Austin finally made his return to the WWE. He technically returned in Los Angeles, but that was off the air. This was one of Stone Cold's best entrances, a prime JR performance here after he got his ass beat by Bischoff the previous week. Great stuff here. You know, you feel the magic. It is very, very exciting to watch this. Now, this is one of the best beatings in WWE history. Bischoff was a terrorist on Raw, complete dictator, and he had gotten drunk with power. The stunner here looked devastating, but that wasn't it. The second one was an even better sell, but there was more, and that's number 3. 1, 2, 3. When was the last time JR got up standing with so much passion like this? He said Stone Cold so much, he's like, "Back down, Stone Cold! Stone Cold!" I thought he forgot the rest of the English language here. The Sooners won the national championship? That's how excited he was. It was a great moment, and even though he got his business done, Austin still hit Bischoff with the 4th. I thought this match did everything it should have. Great stuff, amazing, and it set up a wonderful return for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, of course, WWE had a different philosophy at this point. They were moving forward, but it was obviously always going to be a welcoming addition to see Stone Cold on the WWE roster. While he had plenty of nagging injuries at this point, it felt like we were going to see more of the Texas Rattlesnake, whether it's inside or outside of the ring. And the main event, Hollywood Hulk Hogan faces The Rock. The rematch of the Millennium. WrestleMania 18 was one of the best matches ever. Probably the most identifiable match ever next to Hogan and Andre. There's a special magic with that battle that's unmatched, and the closest to it was seen on Rock 10 years later. There was no real reason to do this main event, but it provided a lead into Hogan and Vince. Now, I don't need to say this, but Rock had changed a bit during this time period. He was now Hollywood, and it's my favorite wrestling character of all time. Charisma dripping just from him coughing, let alone speaking. This guy could create magic in any scenario. Whether it's with Hurricane or Rodney Mack, The Rock was gonna make magic. What further solidifies this Rock is his new theme song, a showcase of the lights and glamour of Los Angeles and a remix to his theme song. In early Hollywood, Rock is funny because the fans actually detested him. They thought he was now a Hollywood phony, but man, that theme song is magic. The entrance as well, it fits to a T. Hollywood Hogan had some of the most respect he's ever had in his entire career, barring the early Hulkamania, of course. These fans are almost worshipping him at every show. Now, this one had a lot going against it. For one, the magic was not there, nor was WWE even trying that hard to chase it. Rock was doing too much theatrics early on, on. I also forgot that Sylvan was the referee here. Hogan made a mockery out of Rock here. Rock hit the rock bottom from out of nowhere, but it wasn't enough for the win. He was taking the piss out of Hogan here, but it was all for the crowd, because when Hogan returned the favor, they were cheering. They were going crazy. Big DDT from out of nowhere in the kip of aura. So much aura, they added it to the Raw intro later on. He allegedly locked in the sharpshooter, and I don't need to tell you guys why I said allegedly. Hogan's struggling but gets to the rope. He broke free but was still under the control of the gray one. The ref was trying to take control of the match, but at the same time, The Rock managed to hit a low blow. He hit 2 people's elbows in a row, and then Hogan hulked up. Rock can't believe it. He gets the boot and the leg drop, but then the lights went out and the referee was down. Mr. McMahon shows up. The ref moves and hands Rock a chair, leading to a brutal chair shot. Hogan's lacerated. By God, he's busted open, and The Rock hits the rock bottom. 1, 2, 3. Very messy match. That said, I was entertained, but as a wrestling match, this wasn't that good, honestly. You understand why this match shouldn't have happened right when the bell rang. It was too silly. My biggest issue with this match is that it happened in the first place. That's the issue with it. They saw that Stone Cold was returning, and they wanted to up the quality of the show and the star power. So obviously, they're going to try and do a rematch like this, because if you don't do this rematch, you're going to have The Rock face somebody like Jeff Hardy or Booker T. They do Montreal once again here. Montreal screw job, and it's a common occurrence. Vince just loves coming here and doing the cheap heat thing with Montreal. It's because Montreal is like the biggest controversy, in-ring controversy of all time, or one of, so they'd want to get a bite out of that every once in a while. I know why they went silly. Obviously, it's because Hogan wasn't capable, and plus they're trying to establish this Hollywood Rock character, which is understandable. But in terms of second matches, this isn't that big. There's a reason why people don't talk about it a lot. But yes, Vince ended up making a mockery out of Hulkamania, even wore the shirt, and this guy's jacked as hell. Crazy, crazy, crazy build he has here. Insane.
That's
That
some
said,
roids.
this sets up WrestleMania 19 very well, and The Rock was traded to Raw the next night. But that's another story for another day. All right, that's No Way Out. I'm not gonna lie, this something passed by quickly. Like, I know some people didn't really like it, and I'm not gonna say I like it all too much, but it has a good vibe to it. A lot of star power, a lot of talent. Well, things could have been better. I was pretty entertained.
The good old days of wrestling, man. Some good big names, good talent, good big names, good talent. The match quality was but still though, you have fun. You got your money's worth. You actually got to see wrestlers that actually matter wrestle. Something they don't do these days. But I digress.
As said, if we're being objective about it straight up, this is average. When you look at the match card, this show should have felt much bigger than it was, but it wasn't that. All right, what you guys think of No Way Out 2003? Please comment down below, and that's the first video. Make sure you hit.
I'd probably say this is like a special edition of Monday Night Raw as a pay-per-view. If in a nutshell. But anyway, so that just go about do it for this one. Most definitely, man. I will see you all in the next video. Till then, deuces.